This is iFIBER 1 News. Here are today's top stories.
Governor Jay Inslee says it is not acceptable for county sheriffs to refuse to enforce Initiative 1639.
Imagining climate change can be difficult, so here's a thought experiment. What if Moses Lake moved to Boulder City, Nevada? A massive Public Lands Act that includes protections for Washington's rivers and forests easily passed the U.S. Senate on Tuesday and is headed for near certain passage in the House.
The Eastmont Lady Cats invaded the A.C. Davis High School gymnasium on Wednesday evening for a duel with the Pirates in the first round of the Big Nine playoffs.
From the iFIBER 1 newsroom, this is iFIBER 1 News, and it starts now.
Governor Jay Inslee says it is not acceptable for county sheriffs to refuse to enforce Initiative 1639. Inslee's comments came during a press conference to recognize the first anniversary of the Parkland, Florida shooting that left 14 children dead.
Some of our sheriffs in the state of Washington have stated that they will willfully refuse to enforce the law of the state of Washington. This is not acceptable to the people of the state of Washington. It is not acceptable to the law. It is not acceptable to me, and it is not acceptable to our children who deserve the protection of the laws of the state of Washington. And while we respect everyone's right to express themselves, including sheriffs, it is not acceptable to refuse willfully, for no reason except their own personal ideology, to refuse to enforce the laws of the state of Washington.
Inslee said despite the statements from at least 13 county sheriffs in the state who have decided not to enforce the law, the Washington State Patrol, State Attorney General's Office, and the state courts will enforce I-1639.
So it is our hope that these sheriffs reconsider some of their thoughts and that we can have some mature conversations about the futility of refusing to enforce the law, because the law is going to be enforced. It will be enforced by the state of Washington if it is not enforced by these individual sheriffs. And we are hopeful that over time we will have a good working relationship so that we can have a little less debating and a little more law enforcement to in fact get this job done for safety. And I hope that we achieve that.
The new law has already raised the minimum age to buy semi-automatic rifles from 18 to 21. Starting July 1st, the law also requires expanded background checks for those rifles and can hold gun owners responsible if their gun was stored carelessly and is used in a crime. This is Joe Utter for iFIBER 1 News.
This segment is brought to you by...
Change doesn't have to be complicated. With a low-profile microwave hood combination that's ready to install right out of the box. It fits in the same space as your under-cabinet hood, so you can get your microwave off the countertop and make space for the routines worth keeping. The low-profile microwave hood combination from the #1 selling appliance brand in the USA.
Whirlpool Appliances, now available at more furniture in Ephrata.
Imagining climate change can be difficult, so here's a thought experiment. What if Moses Lake moved to Boulder City, Nevada? 60 years from now, the climate of the Columbia Basin is predicted to resemble the current climate in Boulder City, just outside Las Vegas, where summers are about 9 degrees hotter and 74% more humid. That's the finding of a new climate assessment in the journal Nature, which maps the expected future climate of 500 American cities onto other locations worldwide where that climate already exists. Moses Lake in 2080 will feel like Boulder City. Wenatchee will feel like Lewiston, Idaho. Portland will feel like Sacramento. University of Maryland ecologist Matt Fitzpatrick, who created the online tool based on 27 different climate forecasts, says it's a way to help people visualize the future as sea levels rise, polar caps melt, and global temperatures continue to climb. You can play around with this map online, and one variation lets you choose a future with lower rates of carbon emissions than we're creating right now. With less carbon in the air, the tool predicts, Moses Lake will feel a lot more like Grandview, Washington. Jefferson Robbins, iFIBER 1 News.
This segment is brought to you by...
Your taste buds bored? Well, then bring them to Jay's Teriyaki. Not only does Jay's have a variety of teriyaki dishes, they also offer mouth-watering salads and sides. Call Jay's 509-764-5155. Jay's Teriyaki, located at 123 East Broadway in Moses Lake, because it's all in the sauce.
A massive Public Lands Act that includes protections for Washington's rivers and forests easily passed the U.S. Senate on Tuesday and is headed for near certain passage in the House. The Natural Resources Management Act has two key Senate sponsors, Democrat Maria Cantwell of Washington and Republican Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. With their support, the package of more than 110 individual bills sailed through the chamber vote 92-8.
This legislation before us today is a recognition that our climate is changing and that we need new tools and carry out new responsibilities as it relates to managing those public lands. Now, I want to thank my colleague from Alaska, Senator Murkowski, for her incredible leadership.
Again, we've got provisions that promote the wildlife conservation, combat invasive species, protect endangered species, water management provisions that save water, protect public safety, enhance fish protections and wildlife habitat. We do all this, and the CBO estimates that we reduce direct spending by $10 million over the next 10 years. So we recognize that that's hardly enough to reduce deficits, but it's a bonus. We're chalking that up as an additional bonus here.
In Washington specifically, the act will remove the Methow Headwaters region of Okanagan County from mineral exploration, something residents have endorsed for years.
How many people here, just by raising their hands, support this withdrawal right now?
In the Yakima Basin, a community plan for dealing with water challenges would become law, providing millions of dollars to irrigation, hatchery, and drinking water projects. Advocates have pressed for that legislation since 2015. And the Mountains to Sound Greenway, a 1.5 million acre forest belt from Ellensburg to Seattle, would be designated the Pacific Northwest's first national heritage area. Both Democrats and Republicans, including 4th District Congressman Dan Newhouse, have championed the act. The House is expected to take up the package later this session. Jefferson Robbins, iFIBER 1 News.
The Eastmont Lady Cats invaded the A.C. Davis High School gymnasium on Wednesday evening for a duel with the Pirates in the first round of the Big Nine playoffs, with the winner earning the right to tread into the deeper waters of the postseason. The winds of the opening quarter all blew in Davis's sails as the Pirates tallied 10 of the game's first 11 points and jumped out to a 9-point lead after 8 minutes of play. In the second quarter, Davis widened their advantage to as much as 16 points, while their defense extended its stretch of holding Eastmont without a field goal to 14 minutes from the opening tip, until senior guard Caitlin Cox's three-pointer finally sent a breeze through the Lady Cats' net with less than 2 minutes remaining in the first half. Davis led by the count of 24-9 at halftime and appeared to be well on their way to coasting into victory's port the rest of the way. As the second half began to unfold, however, the contest suddenly altered its apparent course as the Pirates got themselves into choppy waters, while the leeward Lady Cats of the first half finally unfurled their jib and got back into the chase. Eastmont outscored the Pirates 13-1 in the third quarter thanks to the elbow grease of deckhands like Cox, sophomore guard Jaden Brown, and sophomore guard Kaylin Schmitten, who helped rally the Cats back to within 3 points at the end of 24 minutes.
Now it's our quarter. We win the quarter, we get it.
The Lady Cats did go on to win that fourth quarter, primarily due to the sharpshooting of sophomore guard Megan Chandler, who racked up 9 points on a trio of buckets from behind the arc. But Davis finally offered a response to Eastmont's second-half outburst and did just enough around their own basket to get the score tied at 38 by the conclusion of regulation. However, the windward momentum that spun the Lady Cats out of their drift throughout the second half followed them into extra time as well, and a pair of plunders by Brown and Cox, along with 2 critical free throws by Schmitten, further opened the postseason treasure chest for Eastmont, while sending the Pirates to the Davy Jones locker of the Big Nine for this season with a 44-41 come-from-behind win.
We dug a hole early. Part of it was their energy level, and they got after us, which we knew they would. We fell behind, and I just kept telling them, listen, it's about energy right now. We had 11 turnovers the first half. They had 10 offensive rebounds. That's about energy. So we picked it up in the third quarter, and I think in the second half we had 6 turnovers, which was huge for us. And that normally doesn't happen, but they're well coached. They lost a tough one tonight, but hey, credit to all the girls. November 12th, we've been talking about, hey, it'd be so great to get to the second round. That's where we want to get to, second round, and we did.
Eastmont's victory does advance them to the second round of the 2019 Big Nine playoffs in Moses Lake against the home Chiefs on Friday. Reporting for iFIBER 1 Sports, I'm Chris Hansen.
This is iFIBER 1 News. For more information on these stories and other news, visit us online at iFiber1.com or check us out on Facebook.